Hello and welcome to our webinar today. Where can my degree from the College of Arts and Science take me? I am one of your hosts today. My name is Therese Coleman and I'm an Alumni Engagement Officer here at the University of Saskatchewan in the College of Arts and Science. I'm joined today by my colleague Roberta Braid from USask Student Employment and Career Centre. We are speaking to you today from Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis. We pay our respects to the First Nations ancestors, the First Nations and the Métis ancestors of this place, and reaffirm our relationship with one another. We would like to welcome all of you, our alumni, students, and friends from whatever treaty land or territory you are joining us from. Although we are unable to gather in person, it is great to have this opportunity to connect and learn with you. Today's presenter, Roberta Braid, has a bachelor's degree in education from the University of Winnipeg. She has worked at the SECC for more than 2 years as a career counselor, supporting students in exploring their career options, identifying goals, and planning next steps. Thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge with us today, Roberta. For this webinar, Roberta will give a 40-ish minute presentation, and this will be followed by a 20-minute Q&A opportunity. If you have a question you would like to ask, please enter it into the Q&A box found at the bottom of your screen, and I will verbally submit it to Roberta to answer. As you have likely seen, we will not be using the chat function today. We will be recording today's session, and you'll be able to access the recording on the Arts and Science YouTube channel after today's session. Now I will turn everything over to Roberta. Thank you.
Thanks so much, and welcome everyone. I have PowerPoints I'm going to share with you today, and I hope it's informative and interesting, and look forward to our Q&A discussion at the end. Okay, so all of you should be seeing this right now, and we will get started. So what can I do with my arts and science degree? So for today's outcomes, by the end of today's session, you will hopefully have a better understanding of how self-awareness is an important first step in career planning, how to research career options and opportunities, and how to embrace a happenstance mentality. So we're going to do a poll question right away. It should be popping up for you based on your confidence with the career clarity scale. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you with your career direction and next steps? So I really want you to think about on that scale where you might fall. So you'll see there's very confident, somewhat confident, neutral, not very confident, and not confident at all. Yikes. So I'll get you to choose one of that. I'll give you a minute to do that. And to really just think, if you were to quantify that, what number might that be? What might that look like? So if, for example, you're a 5, think about what makes that a 5 and not lower. So what steps have you taken that have built that to a 5? And then also thinking about what might take that to one number higher. So if you're a 5, what might make that a 6? What's the missing information right now that could help to take it just a little bit higher? All right, so I'm looking at the results right here, and it looks like majority falls in the somewhat confident, in the not very confident. We have some neutrals, some not confident at all, and some very confident. So thank you all for doing that poll. Okay, so if we look at career and self-exploration, really the first step is looking at who we are. So we have what we call the internal factors, which are on the right side of the career and self-exploration wheel. So that looks at your interests, your personality, your strengths and skills, and your values. And then we have the external factors. So sometimes the things that are more out of our control. So we have our significant others, our work life experiences, as well as our volunteer experiences, our academic experiences, and our career possibilities. So it's really looking at each of these individually and thinking about how those fit for you. So your interests, what are you naturally drawn towards? What are you interested in? Could there be something in there that relates with a career? With your personality, what are your personality preferences and how does that fit within different career roles? With your strengths and skills, what are those innate skill sets that you have that you can build on that's going to be helpful in careers? And then when we look at things like values, so what's really important to you? How does that align with different places of work? And again, looking at what have I explored so far for career possibilities and how does that fit with myself? What am I learning in my academia right now? What do I love? What do I not like as much? And how does that fit with career? Reflecting on, again, those past experiences. So work-life experiences, volunteer experiences. What did you learn about yourself through there? What did you love? What did you not love? How does that maybe relate to future careers? And then, of course, looking at significant others in our life. We know that we have a lot of other people that can play a part in some of the bigger decisions that we make. So reflecting on all of these, getting to know yourself a little bit better is always a good first step in deciding your career direction. And if you're having a hard time in unpacking, all those different sections of the wheel, you're certainly not alone. You can connect with someone like myself or Tyler Pulreis, who's also a career coach at the Student Employment and Career Center, and we can help you. So we can help you unpack and talk about your current situation. We can help you describe your goals and how you want things to be different. We can really dig into, what your strengths are, your assets and supports. We can explore those different options, possibilities, and solutions, and really just help you identify those next steps so you can feel a little more confident, as well as connect you to some additional resources and supports. And certainly we'll be talking about some of that today, but if you're wanting a little bit more one-on-one with that, specific to your situation, that's where a career coach can be really helpful and supportive. Another resource we have at the Student Employment and Career Center, if you're looking at digging into that self-exploration, are some of the different career assessments. So again, these will help you in identifying things like your personality preferences with the Myers-Briggs type indicator. The STRONG, that's looking at what am I interested in and how would that relate to different careers. Clifton Strengths Assessment really looks at what are my innate talents? What am I naturally good at? How could I build those into strengths and how can I connect that to different careers? And then we also have a values assessment. So really looking at what's important to you, what are the non-negotiables in a career and what are maybe the nice to haves. So if you are struggling with some of that self-awareness, just know that there are some great assessments and some great resources for you. So knowing yourself makes it much easier in exploring career options, as understanding the internal self allows vision for identifying the external opportunities. And I really like this picture because I get a sense when I look at her that she knows who she is, and now she can take the next step. She can look outwards and see where she really fits in, where she aligns with different opportunities. So she has that magnifying glass and knows that she's looking for something now. So if we look at that, it's really about exploring options and possibilities. And there's some different ways that we can do that. So some popular and effective ways to explore are by degree. So what are some resources to attain information, or by industry? So really looking at what are my transferable skill sets and where can I maybe apply those? And then also by employer. So we'll talk a little bit today about nonprofits, the private sector, government, city, and entrepreneurship. And then also looking at doing a search by occupation and title. So what are some of the main career websites that I can use? If we look at the first one, the degree exploration, it's important to know the careers directly related to your field of study. User-friendly resources like Academic Invest and Job Bank are excellent Canadian websites that help provide such insights. These websites allow you to explore multiple career profiles, both directly and indirectly related to your degree, your employable skills or transferable skill sets. They'll also give you some sample salary figures so you have an idea of what your wage would be with different careers, available scholarships that you can apply for depending on your degree or major of study, professional associations and networking connections, so ways that you can get involved, popular industries that hire, as well as hiring trends and statistics. So I'm going to walk you through Academic Invest. Maybe some of you have seen this and have used it. Maybe it's new to some of you, but I'm going to stop sharing this screen and then take a minute just to do a quick 1 to 2 minute tutorial on how you can use this, how you can use Academic Invest. Okay, so all of you should be seeing Academic Invest on your screens right now. And it says, what can you do with your degree? Let's figure it out. So, and I know that's a big question for a lot of you today. And again, know that you're not alone. There's websites and resources that are dedicated to this because a lot of students and alumni like yourself are asking these same questions. So if we have a look, you can see that there's some different areas here. So there's arts careers, business careers, engineering careers, and science careers. So you can certainly click on any of those that are applicable, or you can put whatever your degree is in the search if you want to save some time. So as an example, let's put in computer science, and it'll take a minute to come up. So careers with a computer science degree, you can click on that. And again, you can put in whatever degree is relevant for you in there. And then what it's going to do is walk you through a little bit about that degree. So it's going to talk about it. It's going to tell you what you're going to learn in that program. It'll tell you why it's important. And then here's where it's going to give you a list of careers that are relevant to a degree in computer science. So maybe some of these you will need additional education for, and it'll just be an excellent foundation, or maybe some of these you can go directly into with your computer science degree. So as you can see, it outlines a lot of different potential careers. And if you see any that you're potentially interested in, you can click on it. So I'm just picking IT analyst as an example. And then what it'll do is give you a career profile for how to become an IT analyst. So if you don't know what that is and you're in computer science, you can read about it, see if it's something that might interest you, talk a little bit more about the education. It's going to give you a general job description, talk about some typical job duties. They'll also give you a listing of who employs IT analysts, so types of organizations, and that can be really helpful just to know who generally hires, the work experience needed, skills and traits, technical skills, personal characteristics, so it kind of goes back to that that wheel where it talks about personality. There's also current job postings you can have a look at. They'll give some salary information, working conditions, similar occupations, and then some other areas that you can have a look for references. So that's kind of the breakdown. And again, it's really helpful if you're just not sure what the types of careers are that you can do with different degrees, in the sense that you have a place where you can do that research. It's kind of your one-stop shop, so it can be really helpful for that. And then it just has other helpful information on there as well. So it'll give you the salary levels. some scholarships so you can have a look for what you could potentially apply for. And then I really like this section as well, the professional associations. So if you're wondering, you know, besides the university, which has lots of great clubs and associations itself, but what might be outside of that, it'll give you different associations that you can potentially be a part of. And a lot of these chapters here will have different networking events. They will also have chapters a lot of times that are specific to students or new graduates. And again, just different networking things, as well as a lot of them have their own careers that are posted directly on there that you may not see elsewhere. Okay, so that is a very quick run through of Academic Invest. So I'll stop sharing this one. And I'm going to share another resource with you, which is similar, that I think will also be helpful for you. Okay, so you should see this one. This one more people have heard of. It's called Job Bank, and it's through the Government of Canada. And there's a lot of different ways you can use this, but due to time, I'm just going to go to the career planning section, but it's definitely a great resource for you. If you go to career planning, choose a career. This is where you can see you can search by field of study or by occupation. For us, because we're exploring by degree, I'm going to do field of study. And this is where you can put the education program in here. So just to keep it consistent, I'll go with computer science again. It's going to give you a lot of different options there, which you can see if you were to scroll through, if you were looking for something specific. But if we're just going to keep it general, I'll keep it on just the general computer science. And again, you can pick which level of education. I'm going to choose bachelor's. As you can see, it's going to give you some statistics there. So it'll talk about recent graduates finding jobs. It'll talk about how much they earn. Then it's going to go through some occupations of graduates, which can be helpful as well, just to see kind of the percentage of these recent grads and where they've gone with it and what types of career roles they have. And for example, you can see percentage of graduates, 41.62% are in computer programmers and interactive media developers. So if you're wondering what that is, that's where you can click on it. And then it's going to give you, you know, a basic description of that job. You can also look at prospects. You can view available jobs, which can be handy. Tell you the average wage, some of the skills that are needed for that. Okay, so I know that that's a very quick tutorial, but when we get to our Q&A at the end, if you have any questions with that, please let me know. All right, so we should be back into our main presentation now. So we had a look at Academic Invest, and we had a look at Job Bank. And now if we get to our second part of it, it's looking at exploring by industry. So we just went over how to explore by degree. So there's a couple of resources there. And then if we look at industry, it's really about thinking outside the box. So like it says here, there are numerous industries out there, and not all of them may seem at first glance to connect with your degree or to connect with your technical skills. However, the skill sets or core competencies learned in your degree can be transferred to virtually any industry. And that's where you are really accountable to know what your transferable skill sets are and how they could be used to support different work roles and environments. And I know that can sound a little overwhelming and a little tricky, but it's really, again, thinking outside the box, thinking about what companies or organizations do you like? What is out there that you might connect with their mission, their vision, their values, or that you're just generally interested in? Maybe your technical skills don't necessarily align, but again, maybe your transferable skills align really well. And that's where it might be connecting with some people that work there and seeing where those transferable skills might fit and if there's some roles that might fit within there. Because if you're really passionate about a certain organization, that passion goes a long way. If you align with a lot of things with that company is doing and respect, again, their mission, vision, values, and feel a real connection to that, there could be a place for you in there. But again, it's thinking outside the box and not being afraid to reach out and connect with people within there. And if you're wondering, like, what are these skill sets? What are my transferable skill sets? That's where you can look at the career readiness competencies as a general guide. We know from employers that these are the main competencies they've indicated that they're looking for. So professionalism and work ethic, oral written communications, teamwork, collaboration, critical thinking, problem solving, digital technology, leadership, global intercultural fluency, and career management. So if these are some areas that you have been thinking about and how you fit into them, and are maybe wondering where your strengths are within them and which ones are a little more challenging, we do have a rubric at the Student Employment and Career Center that you can do self-assessments that can be helpful in figuring out where your strengths are and which ones you may need to work a little bit more on. All right, so if we get to our third section here, it's exploring by employer. So where can I work? This is a question I get a lot as a career coach, just wondering, what is out there? What are the sectors? So these 4 areas are the main ones. There are others outside of that, but these are the ones that we see the most. So there's the nonprofit section, there's the private sector, there's government, city, and then entrepreneurship, so working for yourself. If we break these down a little bit, if we look at nonprofits, it's really a good way, like it says, to gain an entry position. So get some experience, build up your resume, especially when you're first graduating. It can be a little bit harder to gain that experience. And nonprofits are a really good way to get some of that industry experience. They allow you to wear many hats, as they tend to have a little bit smaller staff. So there may be more opportunity beyond your role to support other positions and get other experience that way. Many nonprofits have their own careers page and may not list elsewhere. So that's really important to know, because if you're looking to get your foot in at a nonprofit, you'll likely have to go to their individual careers website to see the job postings. They likely will not be posted elsewhere. So if you're wondering where those are, you can check these 2 sites, which tend to be 2 of the better ones for just outlining what's out there. So there's Charity Village, that one's national, that one is throughout Canada. And there's also beautiful Saskatoon charities and nonprofit organizations. So both of those can be really helpful if you're looking for some nonprofits. You can read about them, see what might fit, check out their careers page. If we look at the private sector, it's thinking about, again, broadly, where might I like to work? Is there a company or organization where I'm really interested in what they're doing or I really respect? Do I feel really authentically connected to, again, their projects, their mission, their vision, their values? Don't just go by the job ads out there and wait for something to appear. You have to think a little bit bigger, do your research, start connecting. And a few helpful websites to use are Canada's Top Employers for Young People. So this one is updated yearly, as well as Saskatchewan's Top Employers. So if you're wondering, what are some of these companies, these private companies, what's out there, what's, reputable. These are a couple good websites to get started, and they're really well done. They have a lot of information on them. They have links that go directly to the company's website, so you can read about them in their careers page. If we look at our third section, it's exploring government and city careers. And these roles can be a little bit trickier to get into right after graduation. So that's where it's really looking at where can I maybe get my foot in the door in government or city. That's where those student summer positions can be really helpful. So both the government and city do have positions that are explicitly for students. So making sure that you check out their careers page and apply for them early. I know the government ones are up right now. They have different industry areas. You can apply for more than one of them. I always recommend applying for everything that looks applicable to you, so you give yourself the best opportunity to maybe get some experience within these government and city sectors. And then exploring by occupation or title, that's where it really comes down to some of the individual job sites. So we have job postings on the SCCC website that is updated regularly. That's always a good one to check out because, again, it's explicitly looking for students. Everyone that posts on there is looking to hire students. So it's a good place to start. And then there's also Indeed, Sask Jobs, Talentig, Eluda, Glassdoor, individual employer websites. So again, if there's a specific company you're really interested in, go to their own webpage, see what might be listed there, and then LinkedIn. So the last one out of that grouping is the entrepreneurship. So if you're thinking of starting your own business, not sure where to start, Square One Sask, it offers a variety of services, supports, resources, seminars, workshops, and one-on-one expert assistance to help you launch or grow your business. And there is the website listed there for that one. All right, so using LinkedIn and career information interviewing, this is kind of the next piece. So you've been doing your research, you've been checking out what you can do with your degree, different types of careers, you found maybe some things you're interested in, but now you're thinking, how do I learn more about these different jobs? Who are in these jobs that maybe I can connect with and start learning more about the industry from the industry experts? That's where LinkedIn is going to be really helpful for you. So some of you may already have a profile, which is great. Some of you may have never heard of LinkedIn. That's okay too. But I definitely recommend getting familiar with it, creating a profile, and then starting to do some networking and connecting, because it's going to be really helpful when you are out there looking for different careers and applying for different careers. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen and I'm going to share LinkedIn because I want to show you quickly one tool that is really helpful when you're looking to connect with people and learn more about different job roles. All right, so you should see my LinkedIn profile page here. So this is just on the home screen. I want to show you the LinkedIn alumni tool. So this is what can be really helpful when you're looking at connecting and learning more about what people are doing with their degrees. So I'm going to take you to the University of Saskatchewan's profile page. Universities, including our own, have profile pages just like people would, so just like you or I would. And here you can see it, so University of Saskatchewan. And if we go to alumni, I think I'm freezing up a little bit. I apologize if that's happening on your end. If we go to alumni, this is where it's going to show you a different search screen. So in here, you'll see there are 75,844 alumni. So this isn't just alumni, this is also students like yourself. It can be instructors, professors, staff, anyone that's connected with the university could potentially be in here. So say you're in computer science, again, keeping it consistent, and you want to have a look at what other people are doing with your degree, you can type computer science in there. I would say click on show more. And this is where you're going to see different categories that you can filter by. So this is going to show you where people are living. So if you wanted to search only in Saskatchewan, you could click on there and filter it that way. This is going to show you where they are working. So it can be helpful to see a list of companies. And then if you hit next, it's going to take you into your next couple of filters. So this is going to be the industry that they are working within, which can be really helpful if you want to see, again, kind of the broader scope of where people may have taken their degrees that might not be the most logical, but it'll be more outside the box, what we were talking about before. So really thinking outside the box of where you can take your degree. So that can be neat to see where people have taken it. If we were to click on, if we just want to see computer science, we can click on that and filter it that way. And then underneath, it's going to show you the people that are connected with that. So I'm not going to click on anyone's profile. I'm not going to click on anyone's profile just for confidentiality purposes, but basically you can click on anyone's profile that is connected with it, have a look at what they're doing. And for example, if you're really interested in the role or career that they have and maybe where they're working, that's where you can send them an invite to have a conversation and learn more. All right, so I will stop. I know that was a very quick kind of tutorial there, but hopefully that gave you some familiarity with it. All right, so now you have a general idea of how to use that LinkedIn alumni tool and how you can be connecting with people. The next step is really doing that career information interviewing. So now you've seen some people you can connect with. It's finding out a little bit more about what they can do. So you can ask them questions like, how did you get into your current line of work? What competencies, knowledge, skills, or experiences are necessary for this work? What makes someone successful in this field? What do you like the most about your job? What do you like the least about your job? What organizational sectors employ people with your area of expertise? What kind of training or experience would be helpful to a person entering your field? What other past experiences or training have been helpful for you? What advice would you give someone who's considering this field? And what is the culture and climate of this profession? So given my interest in career goals, can you think of anyone else I should talk to? This is always a really good question to ask at the end of a career information interview, because guaranteed they know some other people in the industry and field that can also be helpful. So it's just continuing that conversation. Okay, so the next one is looking at embracing.
Roberta, sorry
Yeah?
to jump in. Are we supposed to be seeing slides right now?
Yes.
Okay, they're not up.
Okay. All right, thank you. Let's try this again. Is this better?
Yeah, I can see that. Embracing happenstance. Thanks.
Okay, excellent. All right, so if we look at the last section of this, it's really looking at embracing happenstance. So some of you may have heard of happenstance, some of you may have not. It might be a new term, and that's okay. Like it says there in the definition, coincidence, it was just happenstance that I happened to be there. So really it's about kind of taking some chances, taking some steps, not knowing necessarily what the end result is. Because a lot of times, especially when you're exploring careers, you might not know what that career title is that you're going to end up with. But as long as you're taking the steps, as long as you're learning about yourself, doing the research, doing the networking, connecting in with people, that's where you're going to start to gather all of that information. And that's where the planned happenstance theory comes into effect, because you're doing the work. You may not know exactly what you're working towards or what you're going to attain at the end of it, like that specific job title, but you're doing the work, you're taking the steps, and you're going to get there. So it's all about nurturing those attitudes for success. So curiosity, pay attention to your interests, explore them, persistence. So leveraging failure as an opportunity to grow and to learn, and to know that failure is a natural part of the career cycle. Chances are you're going to apply for some jobs and you're not going to hear back, and that's okay. That's a part of it. Or you might go for an interview and not get the job. We've all been there. So it's just part of the cycle. It's part of learning, and to know that it's okay, that there's always some good takeaways from it. Optimism, believing that you can benefit from every experience. So there's always growth and learning within everything that you do. Risk taking, ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen? So again, sometimes getting out of your comfort zone, thinking outside the box, connecting with people, that can feel a little scary sometimes and definitely out of your comfort zone, but can be very worthwhile. And then flexibility, adapting yourself and your goals. A lot of times we may set out certain goals for us, and we know with life, stuff happens, things change, and it's being able to adapt with that and create some new goals and new steps for yourself as needed. So just a fun little stats. Did you know 70% of people say that a chance event significantly changed their career? I always like to show this slide. As you can see, it's very linear. Graduate from high school, graduate from college or university, work, retire. This is how things used to be, more in my parents' generation, and before that, they were quite linear. And there wasn't a lot of flexibility within that, but we know that that's no longer the case and that things look a lot different today. So this is a little bit more what it looks like today, graduate from high school. You can see there's a lot of different avenues and paths that you can go down. So there isn't, one right way of doing things. It's what's going to work best for you. And in knowing that it's okay not to do things the same as everyone else, that you need to find what really works best for you and who you are. All right, so we're going to go back to that polling question now that you've had a chance to hear a little bit more about the resources out there and how to use them. So we'll put it back up there. So now that you've seen this presentation, how confident are you in your career direction and next steps? So you can see there's gained a lot of confidence from this session, feeling a little bit better now, same as I did before, still pretty nervous. So we'll get you to pop that in there. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just however you're feeling. And again, thinking about if you were to quantify on the career clarity scale, where you might fall, what that might look like, and thinking about what those next steps might be. Okay, so I can see 68% are feeling a bit better now. So that's great. I'm really happy to hear that. And a couple of you gained a lot of confidence from this session, and still pretty nervous for some of you. And that's totally normal. So wherever you're feeling and wherever you're at, just know that you're not alone again, and there's lots of resources and support for you. All right, so I just want you to take a minute to yourselves and really think about what your next step is, what that might look like, how you might jump, one number in that career clarity scale. So if you're at a 5, what's one thing that you could do within the next, week or two that could maybe take that up to a 6, so you're feeling just a little bit more confident? Because that's really what it's all about, is taking one step at a time, not getting overwhelmed, and knowing that one step will lead to another step. So just think about what that next step might be. And if you are wanting further support, please visit our center's webpage and see what might be a good fit for you. Careerlink.usask.ca, that is our main website at the Student Employment and Career Center. You can look for jobs there, volunteering, we have those boards up. You can register for services and events. We have things like virtual career fairs, employer sessions where people will come out from different companies and talk about who they are, what they do, who they like to hire, if they are doing any hiring. So those can be some really good networking events for you. We have resume talks. So if you want some support with your resume, your cover letter or CV, we can help you with that. We have career coaching, like I already talked about. We also do mock interviews. So if you want some practice in an interview session, we can support you with that. And again, there are those career assessments, which I gone over earlier. And I just talked about some of the events. Everything is virtual right now. So it's really easy to register and pop in. So definitely check that out. It's careerlink.usask.ca. Okay. And now we can open it up to any insights, any comments that you have, or questions that you may have put in, and we can talk about that.
Thanks, Roberta. That was a great presentation. I really appreciate you coming out to talk to us today. We did have a few questions roll in while you were chatting, and I was actually going to say, before you take down your presentation, we did have one question. Would you be able to go back to the slide where you mentioned the questions to ask someone when conducting an informational interview? I think that was maybe when we lost your screen here.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Great. This is the one here. So the career information interviewing. We do have a list of this on our website as well. So if you go to the Student Employment and Career Center, we do have these questions plus some others. But yeah, these are some of the common ones. So how did you get into your current line of work? What competencies, knowledge, skills, or experiences are necessary for this work? What makes someone successful in this field? What do you like the most about your job? What do you like the least about your job? What organizational sectors employ people with your area of expertise? What kind of training or experience would be helpful to a person entering your field? What other past experiences or training have been helpful for you? What advice would you give someone who's considering this field? And what is the culture and climate of this profession?
Great. Thank you very much for sharing those again, Roberta.
No problem.
So we do have a few questions, and it looks like we have about 12 minutes, so we'll try to get through all of these. Our first question is, I'm curious about Roberta's career trajectory and how she figured out that her current position was a better fit for her than teaching. She said she has a B.Ed, which is geared towards K-12 teaching career, yet she isn't a teacher. So I'm curious about how she arrived at her current path. I am in a similar position right now as I have a B.Ed, but I'm not sure if I really want to pursue an explicit teaching career.
Yeah, great question. And certainly, yeah, you're not the only person to wonder, what else could I do with my Bachelor of Education degree? For me, I always kind of knew it wasn't quite the right fit, but like so many people, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was going into university. So I took something where I knew that I would get to be supporting people and helping people. And again, through actually teaching, realized that it wasn't the perfect fit for me. So I did a really non-linear career path. kind of like what we had seen through through the diagram that I had put up, where there was really a lot of different options. So for me, it was just a little bit of trial and error. I went after things that I was passionate about. So I worked in mental health and addictions for many years as a rehabilitation worker and really enjoyed that. I also worked as a manager for um, supporting people with cognitive disabilities live independently. I was a makeup artist for a while. I've done a lot of different things. So for me, it was honestly just following what I was interested in, what I was passionate about. Just did a lot of different things. And through that, I was able to gain a lot of different skill sets. So when I saw this position at the university, the skill sets that they were looking for, I could see through different things that I had done, different careers, how this could lend itself nicely to that. So it's just about trying some different roles sometimes, and again, using those transferable skill sets.
Thanks, Roberta. That leads us into our next question. But I'm just wondering if you could stop sharing your screen, because the attendees can't see your face and all your facial expressions when you're describing things. So you kind of touched on this, but can you clarify what you mean and give examples of transferable skills versus technical skills?
Yeah, good question. So technical skills are really those things that if you look at your, say you're in computer science, again, kind of just going back to that, the technical skills that you learn in there might directly relate to, programming or IT or those kinds of things. However, through project work, you are learning how to collaborate with others. So collaboration would be what's called a transferable skill, because anywhere you go, you're probably going to have to do some project work, work with others, work with coworkers, maybe work with people. So that would be a transferable skill. Same with something like communication. Typically in any degree you're in, you're going to be communicating. So using listening skills, written skills, oral skills, presenting, those kinds of things, those are transferable. And again, technical goes right back to your trade. So that might be the different computer languages that you're learning. That's the technical skills. So I hope that that makes sense.
I thought that was a very informative answer. Thanks, Roberta. The next question is, how do we as students volunteer, and when can we start volunteering?
For sure. It's up to you to kind of see what's going to fit best within your schedule. So it's making sure that you're not overwhelming yourself and putting too much on your plate. But if you do find that you have some room and are looking for some experience and can fit it in with your academia and maybe work schedule, you can start volunteering anytime. So we always say, the sooner the better, even if it's something, small, like joining an association and helping out there. And then you can work your way up in your years of study if you're wanting to gain a little bit more experience. So it's never too soon, but it is looking at kind of that work life academia balance and making sure you're not overwhelming yourself. And for where to look for opportunities, you can start with CareerLink. You can actually start right at the university and have a look at the things that we have up for volunteering. And then we also have on the Student Employment and Career website, we have a whole list of organizations that are typically looking for volunteers. And one other just popped in my head, place to look would be Volunteer Canada. So that's looking at opportunities throughout Canada. Some are also virtual, and they do offer specific listings for virtual opportunities.
Great, thank you. I did put the CareerLink link in the chat. So if you want to access CareerLink, you can check that out there. A question from a recent graduate. How do we become involved with working at the City of Saskatoon as a recent graduate rather than a current student? Are they highly experience focused, or are there options for new graduates? And maybe we could expand that, even wider to, other sectors or industry.
Yeah, for sure. So it's really looking at those transferable skill sets again. So if you don't have, say, a lot of working experience, it's tailoring your resume, tailoring your cover letter to those transferable skill sets and really highlighting that and connecting the dots for the employers. If you see a job posted and it says 1 to 3 years experience, and you read the posting and you think, I feel like I could really do this job, even though I don't have 3 years experience. Remembering that that is their top, HR kind of qualified candidate, but likely they may not necessarily get that. That's kind of their ideal candidate they're looking for with all of those things on there. You may not have 3 years experience, but maybe through what you have done in your academia and through volunteering could equal that work experience. So just making sure that you really highlight that again on your resume as well as your cover letter. Let them decide if you're qualified or not.
Perfect, thank you. So we have time for, looks like, a few more questions. Can you tell us, Roberta, are the SCCC programs and services available to alumni as well as students?
Yeah, great question. They absolutely are. Yeah, they're free for students, they're free for alumni. I know I've had, alumni come back after 20, even 30 years because they're doing a major career change and are in a life transition. So yeah, we're there for students as well as alumni.
Perfect. Always good to hear that there's lots of resources out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So looks like we have maybe two more questions. I have been seeing more and more information about the certificate programs offered at the university. Do you think these are worth the time and extra effort?
That's a good question too. I really think that that's a personal decision. So if you see something and you're really interested in it and you think that it could potentially enhance your learning and what you can put on a resume, then absolutely it could be worth it. But again, it's a personal decision. So it's really for you to kind of sit on it and think about it, maybe talk about it with some of your peers and supports and decide if it's the right direction for you. And if you do have questions about it and want to talk it through, that's where a career coaching session might be really valuable as well. And we can kind of talk about the pros and the cons and then have you decide if that might be the right direction for you.
Perfect. Well, it looks like we're about wrapped up. Let's do one last question. And then somebody actually has asked, just to clarify, where will we be able to access this webinar for future reference? So the webinar will be up on the YouTube channel, the Arts and Science YouTube channel. And if you're interested, I can send that link out to you after the webinar is concluded, but it will be live on our YouTube channel after probably tomorrow. So just wrapping up, I guess this is maybe a personal question for you, Roberta, but how do you become a career coach?
That's a great question. Again, I kind of fell into it through having different work experience. Generally, the qualifications, if you were to see an actual HR posting, they look for things like a human services degree, psychology degree, education degree. Those are typically the things you'll see, plus some working experience. So working with, one-on-one with clients or people or students, understanding, person-centered approaches, things like that. So I don't have a posting in front of me, but typically it's gained through that type of education as well as some working experience.
Okay, well, I think that's all that we have time for tonight. Roberta, thank you so much for providing all your expertise and your experience and answering all of our questions. We really appreciated your joining us tonight. So thank you very much. And I'm sure everybody is clapping at home along with me, even though we can't see them. So thank you for being here tonight. And we look forward to hearing more from you in the future, I'm sure.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you everyone for joining, and yeah, and for allowing me to host here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.